Hi, I'm Alicia, and my friend Johnny and I are walking you through the helpful information you can find at oklahomadisasterlegalhelp.org. In Oklahoma, we face several forms of natural disaster. Tornadoes, floods, winter storms, wildfires, and earthquakes are all examples of disasters to have impacted Oklahomans recently. Each natural disaster event may damage property or interrupt life in some way. Because of this, there is sometimes assistance available to help disaster survivors recover.
That's right, Alicia. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA for short, can activate and offer assistance when the President declares a major disaster has occurred. This usually happens at the request of the governor of the impacted state or the leading official of a federally recognized tribal government. Once the President has declared the major disaster, you can apply for FEMA assistance.
So what kind of assistance does FEMA provide to disaster survivors, Johnny?
Here's how FEMA describes it on their own website, Alicia. FEMA's Individuals and Household Program, HIP, provides financial and direct services to eligible individuals and households affected by a disaster who have uninsured or underinsured necessary expenses and serious needs. IHP assistance is not a substitute for insurance and cannot compensate for all losses caused by a disaster. The assistance is intended to meet your basic needs and supplement disaster recovery efforts. Some specific examples of assistance are funds for temporary housing while you are unable to live in your home, such as rental assistance, or reimbursement for hotel costs, funds to support the repair or replacement of owner-occupied homes that serve as the household's primary residence, including privately owned access routes, such as driveways, roads, or bridges, or funds for other uninsured or underinsured disaster-caused expenses and serious needs, such as repair or replacement of personal property and vehicles, or funds for moving and storage, medical, dental, childcare, funeral, and other miscellaneous items approved by your state, territory, or tribal government.
Wow, those are some great examples of why applying for this assistance is pretty important if you've been impacted by a disaster.
It really is important. Why don't you tell everyone how to apply?
Often, the best place to start your application for FEMA assistance is simply by visiting fema.gov and click Apply for Assistance. But many people in disaster-impacted areas might need help accessing the application or understanding how to apply. For help completing a FEMA application, Legal Aid, along with other organizations, might staff a multi-agency resource center known as a MARC, or a disaster recovery center known as a DRC. These centers are often set up as pop-up help centers near the disaster-impacted community in places such as schools, community centers, or churches. You'll want to look out for information about a MARC or DRC in your town a few weeks after the disaster. At either of these information centers, you will likely meet or be assigned to a case manager. Nonprofit organizations skilled in disaster recovery offer survivors someone to walk them through the recovery process. This is your case manager. If case management isn't yet established in your area, you can always call a LASSO attorney or apply for help through LASSO.
Let's talk about what happens after you apply for FEMA assistance. After filling out the application, know that it may take up to 48 hours for your registration to appear in FEMA's system. You may find it helpful to create an online account which will allow you to track the progress of your application. You may create an account at www.disasterassistance.gov, but creating an online account is not required. FEMA will mail you a copy of your application and an applicant guide, which will explain the entire process in detail. You may be asked to complete additional paperwork. You should be contacted by a FEMA inspector within 10 to 14 days of your application. This inspector will schedule a time to review your damages. It is especially important you provide a working phone number so this inspector can reach you. If an inspector cannot contact you, your application will experience delays. Keep in mind, inspectors are often very busy after a disaster and have many homes to inspect. If the inspection shows you have uninsured eligible damage or need to rent housing while displaced from your home, a check can be printed and put in the mail within 2 days of the inspection. If you have chosen to use electronic deposit, the funds are deposited almost immediately after approval. The money often arrives before the official letter explaining the award, which will come in the mail. You may always call the FEMA helpline at 1-800-621-FEMA 3362. TTY 1-800-462-7585 to check the status of your application, or you can visit fema.gov.
When it is safe for you to access your disaster-impacted home, it is wise to photograph everything. Most people simply use their cell phone's camera or digital camera to take photos of all damage to the structure. Damaged or ruined possessions such as furniture, appliances, and personal belongings. And don't forget damage to your vehicles. These photos will be helpful for many people, such as your FEMA inspector, your insurance adjuster, your case manager, and yourself throughout your recovery process.
Let's talk about insurance. If you have homeowner's insurance, you should still apply for FEMA assistance. However, you will need to work through your insurance company's claim process before being eligible for any FEMA benefits. You should remember that you may not be eligible for any FEMA benefits at all. You'll provide FEMA with a decision letter from your insurance company. If your insurance company's settlement does not cover all your losses, or your insurance claim is denied, FEMA assistance may be available. If you do not have homeowner's insurance and your home or its contents were damaged, a FEMA inspector should contact you within 10 to 14 days, about 2 weeks, of your application to inspect your home.
It's important to note that currently, FEMA is doing remote inspections due to the ongoing impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The FEMA helpline and website will have more information about this practice and when or if it should end. You might be wondering, if I have to apply for FEMA assistance, does that mean my application can be denied? The short answer is yes. You can probably assume that recovery from a sudden natural disaster is a bit chaotic. Truthfully, it is very common to be denied FEMA assistance and have to appeal. Do not be discouraged because you need to appeal this decision.
One important thing to know about appealing a FEMA denial is that there's a time limit. You must appeal within 60 days of the date on FEMA's decision letter. Also, all appeals must be in writing. You may mail or fax your appeal, but either way you send it, make sure it is well within the 60-day time frame. There are several reasons you might be appealing FEMA's decision. You may need to make an appeal regarding your eligibility for assistance, the amount or type of help provided to you, late applications, requests to return money, also called recoupment, or questions regarding continued help. Again, it's a very normal, common process, and you shouldn't be discouraged at having to appeal any part of your application for FEMA assistance. Among the common reasons your application might be denied are problems with missing or incomplete paperwork, title issues with your home, which we cover in a specific video on oklahomadisasterlegalhelp.org, and proper documentation. The specifics of this process are sometimes overwhelming, and we think it's important to remind you that you can request the help of a lasso attorney or a disaster case manager if one is available in your area. And remember, if you're working with a case manager or lasso attorney, be sure to include your FEMA authorization form so that FEMA knows someone else is helping you and is allowed access to your information.
Let's leave you with what you'll need to include in an appeal to FEMA. Your appeal should be in the form of a letter to FEMA, and in it, you should explain why you disagree with the decision. Right at the top, include your FEMA application number and the disaster number you find on the top of your decision letter. In your explanation of why you disagree, be sure to include detail of any specific information FEMA asked you for. You may include documents that support your explanation. For example, a contractor's estimate showing how much it will cost to repair your home. In addition to documentation, it is a good idea to include photos that support your explanation. Your appeal should include your full name, date and place of birth, and address. Your letter must be either notarized, include a copy of a state-issued identification, or include the following statement. I hereby declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. You must sign the letter. If someone other than you or the co-applicant is writing the letter, then a statement must be included saying that that person may act for you. Mail your appeal to FEMA National Processing Service Center at P.O. Box 10055, Hyattsville, Maryland 20782-8055, or fax your appeal to 1-800-827-8112, attention FEMA.
One final note. If your FEMA application for assistance is denied, continue to appeal each decision until you receive a letter stating that is FEMA's final decision.